Hello, my name's George Morgan, and I'm the director and writer of the animated short film The Red Bull. I've recorded a series of talks with some of my trusted collaborators in order to promote the film and provide some value for those watching. Right now, I've got with me the producer, Adam Smith. Hi, Adam.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Um, Adam, let's kind of get cracking straight away. And obviously, I've introduced you and, told everyone watching that you're the producer, but out of intrigue, what is a producer? What is the role of a producer, especially on an animated short film?
Well, that's a good question. I think a lot of people have a problem or a misunderstanding of what a producer does, in general in film and TV. But I come from a background of mostly doing sort of live action narrative stuff, um, and so the role of a producer in that is slightly different to even the role of a producer in an animation. So when it comes to the live action stuff and I suppose to some extent the animation, it's about finding the story, and sort of helping develop writers and a team around it to be able to get that story to an audience. And you're sort of the engine of the production, making sure that everyone's gelling together, you raise enough money, you're able to pick the right team and make sure that the interpersonal stuff works, as well as have the sort of skills story wise
Mm,
to make sure that the overall vision that the writer initially thought of and the director that you've hired sort of pulls together to create something on screen that an audience really engages with.
mm,
Obviously, with this project, um, you have a writer director, so that's a little bit easier because that is a singular person rather than two people coming together. Um, but it's also different because it's an animation, so you need to bring on someone who's a skilled animator and animation director to take the writing and the directing vision and actually put it into a working rig and sort of a whole correct animation film. So it's great. It was a really cool experience, and this was the first time I'd done a purely animation. I'd had animation in my other projects before, but this is the first time I actually got to go start to finish with just animation, no live action elements,
mm.
which was really exciting.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Because when I spoke to you and you told us, obviously, you have a wealth of experience and you had experience with animation and within live action, but
Yeah,
obviously talking to you and you know like you said at the start, connecting to the story was a massive part for you. And I think
yeah.
those watching, especially if you are trying to find a producer or if you're collaborating, it's that emotional hook. Would you agree, that emotional hook for how you get a collaborator on board?
Very much so because um, I think the key thing with producing is that you have to like something, you have to like a piece of writing or a story so much that when when it feels like everything's about to fall apart, or when it feels like everything's going wrong, which happens along the journey in every project, be that at the beginning, the middle, or rarely at the end, to be honest, but there's always these trials and tribulations.
Mm, yeah.
So if you just like a project and you're just like, oh yeah, that's good, it's okay, then you're much more likely to go, I can't bother with this. This is
Mm,
way too much
mm,
more effort than it is worth. So when you're out there trying to get a producer for your project, um, it's just not a one size fits all
mm,
game. Um, you've got to find someone that, um, as a writer, you've got to find someone who's basically loves it and loves you so much that they're going to back you to the hilt.
mm,
Um, Obviously, when you bring on a director, or if you're a writer director, it's the same sort of thing.
mm,
You've got to have someone who has the trust in you, but also really likes that story.
mm, mm,
Um, and that also means that sometimes they won't like another story that you've written, but
mm,
that's just because you can't love too much at the same time. You can't fight for everything all the time. So yeah, it's very much like a process of wanting to find someone who really loves that story
mm,
and also understands it to the same level that you do.
mm,
But when I read the script, um, and it did change a little, but it didn't actually change all that much.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
it very much was like, right, okay, I can connect with this, I can understand it, and and whilst I didn't understand or we didn't know yet what the animation style was,
mm.
story worked.
Yeah, yeah.
So then when, so yeah, so then when Claire was coming up with the style, then the style was fitting the story, which was like, wow, okay, yeah, it
Mm,
all works.
mm,
So yeah, but you need someone to fight your corner as
mm.
a writer or writer director, um, and to do that, a producer has to love it.
The story looks at a family, yes, but specifically a young boy grieving, going through a journey both physically and emotionally. Um, I was interested in terms of, what journey did you go on as a producer? What was the best thing for you, or what did you learn? And also, be honest, what was the most challenging?
So what I learned whilst making an animation rather than a live action um, was almost the how it was about how pure animation actually is
Mm,
to
mm,
storytelling. Um, when you're going into an animation, you need to know what your first and last frame are going to be,
mm,
and you get to basically pick every frame in between those. The only thing that holds you back is budget,
mm,
time, how much effort can we put into or energy and time can we put into something. So I think it was super freeing to be able to sort of have your ideas translated onto paper um, by someone who's really good at it, and then and I think that obviously when you make a live action movie, there's so many more moving parts where on the day and within seconds things change and modifications happen and things aren't exactly as you thought they were going to be, but they're better or they're not quite as good. And actually, with the animation, it just did feel more pure,
mm,
and the fact that you were able to see with the animatic
mm,
the whole film before you made it is just something you don't really get on lower budget
mm,
live action stuff.
mm,
So I loved that process because it gave me a sense of like I can see the whole thing, so I know it's going to work.
mm,
The stress that comes in with that is like, right, we have a very limited amount of time and limited amount of money to
mm,
make that work. So the stress comes in. It's like, well, you can't really cut anything because this is how the story is and this is how the story works.
mm,
But then we came up with a couple of creative solutions, if you remember, to that. Um, Specifically the arms and the fact that the arms in the movie they're not block colors and moving as with the in the same way that the shirts and the trousers are.
mm,
Um, but actually, I've had numerous occasions at festivals where people come up to me and go, I really like the style and I love the fact that, you didn't, waste, you didn't distract with having the arms and the
mm,
legs painted.
mm.
And I was like, yeah, it was a really great creative choice. It wasn't anything to do with the fact that there was never going to be enough time within our budget to do it.
Mm.
But it's really cool. I think
And it
that
works. Mm,
it works
mm,
and yeah, basically, um, it actually and the restrictions that we put on ourselves because of the extended length over what we initially were planning to do, but also the restricted time scale and budget. I think meant that we came up with an aesthetic that works. It's from the child's sort of visual point of view and sort of the right aesthetic.
mm,
So really interesting and different. It's not what is on the festival circuit all the time.
mm.
You don't always get that texture. Um,
Can I chip in quickly as well in terms of, and I have to big you up as well, because those creative decisions were not made in isolation. Those creative decisions were made, um, within conversations. And obviously, thank you so much for getting the group together on a consistent basis. Because obviously, amongst the chaos, you still got us over Zoom to talk
yeah,
about these decisions, because it was these conversations over Zoom which manifested into what people are watching today. So you talk about these creative solutions and they all worked, but the catalyst was you saying, let's all jump on a Zoom, whether it was 7 o'clock after a long day of teaching, or whether it was in the morning. But it was also vital for this film.
yeah, yeah. I think that I mean, I suppose that's something with every project.
Mm,
Is like whatever it is, it's the communication.
mm,
Um, People knowing what what the expectations from them are
mm,
from the outset. But then the, these kind of movies can't be made on well, I say they can't be made on your own in your bedroom. Amazingly enough, lots of things can be, but the um the team dynamic of working as a group,
mm,
it you really do need to be gelling quite often, having these conversations,
mm,
and the hive mind of a team of people is so much more powerful. Like we can come up with solutions and and that's what's needed. Just
mm,
pragmatic conversations about how do we get around problems.
mm,
Uh, be that okay, we've not got enough time. Can we hire one more person in the animation team to get this over the line? Otherwise,
mm.
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, right. We've got to work a way to do that. Um, but I think we also looked out because we didn't hit any roadblock of a person who wasn't able to gel with us.
Mm,
So
mm,
everyone we brought on was was good at what they do, or great at what they do, but also knew our parameters and really gelled with the whole team.
exactly.
So we were there's a little bit of magic that has to happen
Mm,
to make any film,
mm,
and we just kept seemingly rolling on and
mm.
getting all those positive things without too many hiccups, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And what would you say is something that challenged you? What would you say something that, challenged you, but still we obviously managed to get the film out. What would you say?
It's that's so the time scale was something that less challenged and more stressed me because we, for an animation, had a matter of months that basically meant that once the script was signed off, I think we ended up with something like 3 months
Mm,
to basically create and deliver the film. Um, and so that was from the script being signed off and then the animatic being signed off, which I don't think happened as simultaneously as we'd hoped. Um, Also, the fact that the plan had been about a 4-minute film, and I think we've ended up with something about
but
7.
7, yeah, yeah. Ambitious,
So,
very ambitious.
which for a live action is like, right, okay, that's just what we call pacing, and maybe there's an extra couple of scenes or something. Pardon me, but with an animation, that's pure story,
Mm,
and um, and that means more scenes and more sequences and a ton more animation, and it is
mm,
just literally it's trying to squeeze almost an extra 50% out,
mm,
which is just difficult and stressful. But I mean, once we'd got that animatic, so I
mm,
think getting to the animatic was the difficult bit,
mm,
but for the sort of stressful bit. Um, and then the real work started to happen. But my God, the team were good and they were fast.
Yeah.
So we'd already agreed, as you say, on right, there are some limitations. And once we'd agreed on those limitations, it then made it okay to fall back on the fact that we were doing something in a certain way.
Mm,
Uh, so I'm really proud of it. So no, that there wasn't something that was majorly that was too much of a stumbling block.
mm.
And Screen and South were on the whole great and good communicators most of the time to sort of allow us to progress as quickly as
Mm,
possible.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's so there's not really I can say. I was
Mm.
happy with it all.
Great. And, a little shout out to obviously Lillian, who was one of the animators when, throughout the journey, but also especially when Claire had to,
Yeah,
go off and have a child.
yeah,
And obviously Lillian was vital and so key to our, bringing us over the finish line. And obviously a shout out to Joe Nolan from Screen South as
yeah.
well, who was
She was
extremely
yeah,
helpful discussing everything from story, to logistics. So a massive shout out to them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they were all like the whole team was fantastic. Mike as
Mm,
well. We also were able to, because of Mike's coloring and his color
mm,
palette and what he used, um, we didn't do any sort of post-production
mm,
coloring of the film.
mm,
Uh, he was able to keep such a correctly tonal balanced thing throughout the
mm,
whole of it that we didn't have to do any color correction at the end of it.
mm,
I remember having a conversation with Joe Nolan and about it, and I said, I've put a little bit of money in the budget for a colorist to go over this film and just touch any areas that might need a little correction here and there.
mm.
I was like, but I can't spend it on that because I've gone through it multiple times and I can't see anywhere that
Yeah,
would
looks
need that.
beautiful.
And she just went, yeah, I agree. So that just meant more money was able to go into the festival budget.
Mm, mm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, he did a phenomenal job on that. Um, and that's not an easy thing to do as well to make sure that all your colors, because he did all of the color throughout the film.
Mm,
Mm. So yeah, so it's really, really cool to have
mm.
an illustrator who was able to be so heavily involved in every element of it.
Yeah, agree,
Really, really,
agree.
um, once in a lifetime sort of coming together of all these people, to be honest.
What advice would you give to an emerging producer, or perhaps a producer looking to dabble in their first animation?
Wow. So producers who are thinking about animation, um, I think that you should do it. Um, there's so much to love about it. Um, it's a difficult one because giving advice to emerging producers, there's I still see myself as an emerging producer, so um, it's about saying yes to things that you really really love and that you're going to champion. Don't just say yes to things that you're just that you don't love just because you're fearing of missing out. Um, there are always solutions if you're able to take a moment, talk to the team, hear what they say, and then act quickly upon the best idea that comes from them.
Mm,
Um, it's the listening bit, and not just trying to bulldoze your own methods through.
yeah.
Ultimately, these other people are going to probably be executing it. So,
Mm,
so yeah, just it's about loving the project and listening to what people are saying. Um, yeah, that's what
perfect.
I'd like to say to people like that. And then yeah, the animation side of things though, like just go out there and talk to animators. If you actually meet them at festivals, um, they some of the animators that are out there, the work is unbelievable, and yeah, just try and help them on a smaller project and
Mm,
understand what the process is if you don't fully know it. just try and help people out and get to know the process because it's a really exciting one.
100%, 100%. Thank you, Adam, so much for your
No
time,
worries,
and I'm
man.
sure I'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.